I got a rash because of keto. Not your typical keto rash, but learn from my mistakes and learn the worst thing to do for the keto rash. So what is the keto rash? When I first started seeing patients on a ketogenic diet, this rash completely took my attention for several months. The patients would show up with a patchy redness that wasn't always in the same spot, but it would itch something terrible. And when I couldn't find any answers in the textbooks I was looking at, I biopsied it, sent it off to the pathology team and said, what is causing this? And we looked for things like autoimmune or any toxins or any strange overgrowth. And the only thing we found was something super boring. It was a typical fungal infection that's known to live in our skin, but it had overgrown. And in the process of overgrowing inside these dead layers of your skin, it caused the patient to itch terribly. Let me use this picture to explain that a little better. So here's a typical picture of your skin, and you'll notice the blood vessel along the bottom here. That blood vessel supplies the nourishment for all of this area. But from the cells here, which are alive and dividing, this is what produces your skin cells, they naturally migrate towards the top of your skin. And as they do that, they become less alive. They are the dead skin cells that are sloughable, that true epidermis. It's in these layers of the skin cells that in between those skin cells, not in the blood vessels and not in the skin cells, but in between those skin cells, this yeast or fungus tends to overgrow. Now, it's a normal finding, but in the patients with a ketogenic rash, the sugar coming out of this blood vessel had provided them with a wonderful, beautiful home that they got dependent on. And when they went on the ketogenic diet, after several days, and often when they leveled up their ketogenic diet, the blood sugars dropped significantly. And as a consequence of the blood sugars dropping, the sugar found in between these skin cells also dropped. In other words, the nutrients that those little critters were living off of had disappeared. This caused that population to divide quickly, which causes them to itch. It is incredibly itchy. So what happened to me? I am not a newbie on keto. I've been keto for years, and this wasn't your typical keto rash, but it was a consequence of what I ate for the holidays. Yeah, I usually don't overeat on carbs, but over the holidays, I ordered this wonderful pumpkin souffle. And unfortunately, no one else in my family liked it. So I ate a bunch of it on Thanksgiving and the day after and the day after until it was gone. And this rash showed up a couple of days after I started eating that pumpkin souffle. And the critters living under my breasts had a party. They had not seen this much sugar in a long time, and they overgrew. These specific critters were actually yeast. I got a yeast infection under my breast because of a several-day binge on carbs over the holidays. This was so irritating that in my sleep, I itched it raw. I itched it to the point of bleeding while sleeping. So unlike the keto rash, which is a drop in blood sugars causing a rise and a replication in these fungal critters living between skin cells, mine was the opposite. I had a rise in my blood sugar causing the normal yeast that lives on our skin to divide, replicate, and set up a beautiful home under my breasts. Although the cause was opposite, the solution for both of these rashes is the same. When people come for the keto rash, they say, Dr. Bosworth, I must be allergic to the keto diet because every time I get even a little more strict on this diet, I get this rash that itches so much. But if I have a few bites of carbohydrate, the rash goes away. I think I'm allergic to the keto diet. That's not true. That's not what happened. In fact, these critters are outsmarting you. They replicate when you give them the sugar that they're used to, and then they calm down, not causing any of that replication irritation that you're itching at. In my case, I needed to stop feeding the yeast living under my boobs. So it was back to a strict ketogenic diet for about 5 or 6 days before the rash completely disappeared and I went back to normal. My yeast infection was an overgrowth right here in the epidermis, or those most outer layers of the skin, whereas the ketogenic rash is an overgrowth of the critters living between these cells, deeper into the skin. The solution in both situations is to lower the blood sugar. That lowered blood sugar causes death and destruction of these little critters living in your skin. That consistent behavior and no binging allowed is the key to get this rash to completely go away and stay away. Often I'll tell my ketogenic patients to start a sardine challenge. Eat them every day for the next 3 to 4 days. I find that burst in ketones and drop in their blood sugar is the best solution for the patient and the worst thing for those little bugs. So if you're looking for something more on the menu besides sardines to raise those ketones and drop the blood sugars, check out this next video because it will teach you just that.